Good day, dear students. Today, our lecture is dedicated to problem-solving techniques. I think you know that it's really important to have a kind of approach in solving the problems, maybe scientific problems, or let's say study problems, or daily life problems. I think if you're aware about problem-solving techniques, it's really important and significant for your career, for your education, maybe. And today, we will discuss some tips, some types or some ways of problem-solving issues. So, first of all, let's just find out basic problem-solving criteria or just categories. First of all, we should understand the problem itself. Then we should identify the solutions. And of course, it's important to try some solutions and evaluate the results. And we should take into account, is the applicant or customer satisfied? No, try again. Yes, we're done. So today we will speak something within these categories in solving different problems, because problem solving is a part of our life, and as students, as employee, or in our daily life, we come across to different problems. And of course, we have to solve these very problems. And for that, we need to enlarge our experience. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to find kind of solutions to different problems. For that, we should be really experienced. So let's speak about problem-solving process. So in this slide, you can see the goal. Of course, in solving problem, the goal is important as well. We should work out a kind of mechanism again to achieve our goal in solving problem. So we should find the main definition of the problem. We should compare it with other objects maybe, or other problematic issues. We should test, we should analyze, synthesize the information concerning different problems. And of course, we should find answers to questions what, when, and where, and how. That is realized, let's say, when we just deal with different problems, and why we should just find the cause and effect relationship in solving different problems. And of course, here, comparison is also very important. We find out the problem, we define the problem, and of course, we try to compare with different obstacles or external factors when we just try to find solution to the problem. So all in all, it's a kind of cycle where we should take into account these notions as comparing, testing, analyzing, or finding the main mechanism of realization while finding the solution to the problem. It's really important. So it was a general information about problem-solving process. And let's just find out what are the basic problem-solving issues. So first category, understand the problem. It's important if we aware about the problem. So first, state the problem clearly. And of course, we should define the scope of the problem. We should state how we would know if the problem has been solved. And of course, here we should state the problem clearly and unambiguously and succinctly. And of course, it is really important to find successful, let's say, solutions. And as for defining the scope of the problem, we should find out the specific way about what is included and what's outside the scope of the problem. We should just find out or just analyze the external, internal factors while studying the problem. So then we should just take into account some other issues. For example, when we state how we would know if the problem has been solved. What measurements can be made to show that the problem has been solved? Of course, we should find out the measures. Or who makes the judgment that the problem is solved? Of course, we try to find the solution. And of course, I think it's really important to discuss the problems with experts, because experts know what way we need to solve the problem, because they are really experienced in this field. Sometimes if we just discuss the problem solutions or problem issues with experts, it's very good how it is really significant help for us. Or is the information about the problem and desired outcome complete? If not, who can provide the missing information? So in trying to find the information, we need to find out the main source where we can find the authentic information about the problem. Because if we do not have the information, the precise information about the problem, it will be difficult and complicated for us to find concrete and appropriate solution to the problem. So that's why we need to follow these, let's say, issues or these criteria in finding the solution to different problems. So next one, identify solutions. Of course, it's really important when we try to identify the solutions. Now we know the problem itself. We know the definition of the problem. Maybe we know the cause and effect concerning the problem estimation. But identifying the solutions is also very important. We should just try to find some solutions in not only one solution, but different solutions, and try to choose the significant one or the best solution to the problem. Because we may have different approaches in problem solution or in problem solving. So that's why we need to choose the effective problem solving issue to be effective in our activity or in our analysis. So the first one, trial and error. And of course, it's natural that we may have different errors or different mistakes. We should find the cause of these errors or mistakes. It's very good when you are aware about different unexpected issues while being busy with the problem in the process of finding the solution. Or we should consider special cases, or we should take into account special cases, different cases, because when we deal with one and the same problem, we may just consider different other cases or ways to solve the problem. Because we may have different information in different theories concerning one and the same problem. And of course, we should choose the best suitable ways to solve the problem. Problem solving doesn't mean that you need to find kind of solutions, best solutions, but sometimes you analyze the problem and try to find the results, and that results may be effective or significant, or maybe positive, maybe negative, it depends. But the main thing, you need to consider special cases after finding the results. When you use different cases, different ways, or case study methods, of course, you may have concrete results, and you will just try to implement these results in practice. That's very good. Or here it is said something about experts' view. You should ask an expert about his viewpoint concerning the problem, and you should work with an expert, because you may not have enough experience, but experts, they have enough experience to solve the problem. So that's why when you communicate with other experts, which are more experienced, it's a very good way to identify the solution to the problem you come across. Or the next one, solve a simpler but similar problem and then generalize. So generalization is also very important. But before, we need to find some similar features or similar, let's say, solutions. We should just analyze all the solutions one by one. And then we may generalize and just get the significant result, precise result in solving any problem. And of course, we will discuss some other techniques, as that is mentioned here. There are a number of techniques discussed later in these chart decks. And of course, usually during lectures, we just discuss the problems, take into account different theories, different approaches. And in the previous slides, of course, we will try to discuss other techniques which are really significant, effective in problem solving process, let's say. So next one, try some solutions and evaluate the results. Result evaluation is really important, because maybe you try to analyze the problem, define the problem, and try to find different solutions. And of course, result evaluation is really important. And for example, execute the proposed solution is very important, because you execute the solution, which you get after analyzing the problem and trying to find different issues in solving. Or does this solution meet all the success criteria in the original problem statement? Of course, here, problem solution should meet all the requirements, and you should follow all the criteria, taking into account the statements which are trying to reveal the main definition or the main issue of the problem you deal with. So it's also important you should take into account these categories, these criteria, these, let's say, tips, these approaches in problem solving. So the next one, is the customer satisfied or is the applicant satisfied? Of course, it's very important. When you deal with a problem, and of course, you have a kind of relationship with the customer, with the applicant, and it's important whether he's satisfied or not. For example, is the customer satisfied? No, try again. Yes, we are done. If everything is okay, if while relationship with the applicant or customer, you come to one and the same conclusion, you could find the common language, it's very good. It means that you are done. What worked and what did not? And of course, while trying to solve the problem, you should find different cases, different ways which work to a better side in solving the problem, or what cases doesn't work. It's also very important to find out. Or did the customer really ask for what they wanted, or did they actually want something else? Of course, the customer or just applicant's feeling is very important. You should take into account, because when you try to solve the problem, you need to define the origin of the problem. And of course, you should create a kind of relationship with the customer or with the applicant while solving different kind of problems. Or how can you monitor the continued success of the solution and adjust as necessary? Of course, success is very important in problem solving. So you should monitor the continuation of success, or you should adjust necessary results, necessary testimonies, necessary evidence in solving problems. And if you are successful enough, it is really good. And it means that you are on the right way in problem solving process. It is really important. So now let's discuss about some common problem solving techniques. So now let's begin from trial and error technique. So in trial and error, a possible answer is selected and applied to the problem and evaluated to see if it really is a genuine solution or the best solution, let's say. If not, another possibility that is subsequently tried. You should just find out whether this solution is the best. If it's not the best solution or genuine solution, you may try other subsequent solutions as well. Or the process ends when a particular guess yields a solution. And of course, you may continue this process until you cannot get the significant solution, significant problematic case for solving the problem. The next one, divide and conquer. It is also a very significant and very effective technique. The method here is to break down a large, complex problem into smaller. So, of course, it's very convenient to break the general problem into small problems. And it is really convenient to work with smaller problems and solve the smaller problems first, then generalize and try to, let's say, find out other necessary ways to solve the problems. And of course, when you try to solve the smaller problems, it is more comfortable and convenient. And of course, at the end, you may accumulate all these ways in solving the problem and find the general solution to the problem. That is very important technique. So the next one, hill climbing. A solution is evaluated in terms of its closeness to the correct solution, and then a change is made to that solution and re-evaluated. Changes that move closer to the goal situation are accepted, whereas other changes are rejected. Of course, it's also a very important technique because we just try to evaluate the term, or let's say maybe the problem is connected, is related to long-term solution or process or short-term process. It's of course very important to find out after evaluating it, and you should find correct solution, because the solution may work with one problem, but with the similar problem it may not work maybe. So that's why you should find the essence solution, or you should find the essence to that problem, because every problem has its own, let's say, significance, its own essence. So that's why you should find correct solution. And maybe on your way in the process of solving the problem, you may come across with some changes because you use one way to solve the problem. And of course, it may just acquire some changes. Of course, after changing somehow the way to solve the problem, you may get a good result maybe. So that's why it depends. You should just find correct solutions. But for that, you need to work really hard, or you should be concentrated on correct way to solve the problem. Or the next one, brainstorming. I think brainstorming is not new for you. Brainstorming is really necessary in problem solving process. So brainstorming is a means of generating many possible solutions using the creativity of a group or people. The ideas are then filtered to select just the best suggestions. Of course, when you brainstorm different ideas, it's good. When you have a lot of ideas, you have a chance to choose the best suitable ideas or the best ways to solve the problem. It's very good because while brainstorming, you just may synthesize different ideas, different ways, different concrete and proper solutions to the problem you deal with, because it's really important when you brainstorm, when you generate different ideas, trying to take into account the ideas, the best suitable, appropriate ideas in solving the problem or in finding concrete solution to the problem. And of course, here you may find or you may get the best suggestions or just best solutions. The next one, focal objects. The technique of focal object for problem solving involves synthesizing the seemingly non-matching characteristics of different objects into something new. So, what does it mean? It means that these techniques work when you first of all try to analyze the problem and find the solutions which were discussed before by other experts, but you may find new solution after analyzing it in your own way, using some other ways, cases in solving the problem. And it will be your approach to solve this problem. And it should be new way to solve the problem. Lateral thinking. Lateral thinking is a term coined by Edward de Bono for the solution of the problems through an indirect and creative approach. So when you deal with lateral thinking, it means that you should use creative approach in solving a problem. You should just find the concrete problem, but for that you need to think, have the imagination of different other approaches, and then of course you choose the best ones, and you should find out the logical cohesion between these cases, which are really useful or effective in problem solving. And of course, you should do it step by step, gradually, because you should work out a kind of logics or logistics between the ways of the problem solving issues. It's really important. And of course, sometimes we deal with critical thinking. And lateral thinking and critical thinking, they are different somehow. Critical thinking, of course, also necessary in problem solving process. You should just find some other valuable, let's say, elements or valuable ways to solve the problem. When you deal with concrete facts in lateral thinking, but in critical thinking approach, you need to analyze the, let's say, general issues, and you should find out cause and effect relationship between different problematic issues concerning one and the same problem. Or mind mapping, a diagrammatic means of representing ideas in their relationships, useful for brainstorming and lateral thinking. Because mind mapping is a kind of clustering where you have general idea and of course some other specific ideas to deal with. And of course, after analyzing general idea, central idea first, then of course you should find the relationship of other factors, internal, external factors to the central idea by supporting them with some facts, testimonies, other, let's say, evidence. Of course, it's important. And then you can find the significant and effective result, let's say. Okay, maybe let's just look through these techniques with some details. So let's begin from trial and error technique. Trial and error means guessing a solution and then seeing if really does solve the problem. Or selecting random solutions can be very inefficient. So trial and error often involves some sort of directed search of the solution space to reduce the number of guesses required. And of course, it's natural when you try to guess, try to have preliminary ideas about solving this very problem. Maybe sometimes they are not efficient. So that's why you should work really hard, or you should be concentrated on different trials or errors to find whether it is suitable solution or not. It is really important. Or trial and error is can use feedback system where a possible solution is selected, often by guesswork. And of course, guesswork is not effective sometimes. Of course, you examine, you use the trial solution to the problem, but anyway, if it doesn't suit to the problem as a solution, of course, you will have a chance to find other solutions as well. I think you do understand what is trial. Trial is a preliminary way to solve the problem. Maybe you may guess beforehand, but guessing is not effective all the time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's not effective way in solving the problem. Or the next one, trial and error is based on the assumption that you can learn by examining a failure. Of course, examining a failure beforehand is really effective way, because you know what will you have at the end of analyzing the problem. And of course, failure doesn't mean that you are not on the right way. Of course, if one case failed in solving the problem, so you have a chance to use another one. But you know for sure that this case is not very suitable to the solution of the problem. And then you continue. Okay, and of course, this approach is in contrast to approaches based on using insight and theory. And of course, here we may use different approaches, theoretical approaches, because first we have a kind of theoretical approach in solving the problem. Then after analyzing, synthesizing, finding best way to solve the problem, of course, you have concrete spectra of different other solutions which are really effective. So that's why this technique is very helpful. Divide and conquer. A divide and conquer algorithm works by repeatedly splitting a problem into two or more sub-problems of the same. So, as we mentioned above, here we just try to break the greater problem into smaller ones. And of course, it is easier for us to work with smaller problems. Then we just combine these solutions to one and the same greater solution. And of course, it is convenient and easier to find the solution to original problem. Or Knopf gives the method a post office typically uses to road mail. Letters are sorted into separate bags for different geographical areas. Each of these bags is itself sorted into batches for smaller sub-regions. And here, in this example, you can find out that we need to begin from smaller ones, smaller amounts, smaller constituents, and then try to be concentrated on bigger ones. That is, I think, clear, and it is very effective in problem solving. So this approach is good with recursion and parallelism. Parallelly, we just work with smaller problems and we take into account the bigger problems results, because it's a kind of mechanism where you just analyze the smaller problems one by one, then you combine all the solutions in one. So, hill climbing, it's also a very effective technique. So this problem-solving method involves evaluation. A solution is in terms of its closeness to the correct solution, and then making a change to that solution and determining if the new solution is nearer the desired goal or not. Of course, it's very important. When you analyze, when you work out new solution, you should check it whether it is suitable or not, whether it is really close to a desired goal or not. It's very important. And each step change in the solution is intended to move closer to the goal situation. And of course, that is really important that smaller steps may be combined in bigger steps. And you just become closer and closer to the main solution to the problem, to your goal in solving the problem. For example, traveling 1,000 miles to the west might require driving a few miles each to an airport. Then, of course, it means that you have rest, and then you just may enlarge your experience in driving 1,000 miles. On your way, you may find out the places, best places for having rest, for having a snap, or just having a nap, or having a snack somehow. It's really important. So, and here, and I said that hill climbing can be regarded as an improvement on trial and error technique, as it is really a trial and improvement scheme. So here we have a short story. Let's just read it and understand the logical cohesion of these, or let's say, the constituents of this story. So once upon a time, a farmer went to market and purchased a fox, a goose, and a bag of beans. On his way home, the farmer came to the bank of the river and hired a boat. But in crossing the river by boat, the farmer could carry only himself and a single one of his purchases, the fox, the goose, or the bag of beans. If left alone, the fox would eat the goose, and the goose would eat the beans if we leave the goose alone with beans. The farmer's challenge was to carry himself and his purchases to the far bank of the river, leaving each purchase intact. How did he do it? So let's just look through this problem, analyzing the example, vivid example. So in the middle, you can see the river. So here, you should find the best solution. You have 9 steps. Is this the optimum solutions? You should decide. And of course, you should cross the river and get all the stuff home. And for that, the fox should be safe. Not fox, maybe goose should be safe, and beans should be safe. You should find out one best solution. And I think here it's clear what solution to choose. And you should think it over, of course. You should try all the solutions and choose the best solution, because it's natural to have 9 steps or just 9 different solutions, 9 different options in solving this very problem. But anyway, as a human being, we need to choose the best one. So, brainstorming, I think brainstorming is not new, as we mentioned above. So brainstorming is really necessary because brainstorming is a group creativity techniques. We brainstorm different ideas. For example, in previous slides with goose, fox, and beans, we should brainstorm and try to analyze different ideas, different steps, or different ways to solve the problem and choose the best one, of course. And here there are some methods. Identify a leader who will facilitate the processes, set the problem itself, select the participants, create a list of supporting questions, run the session, evaluate the outcome. And of course, here it's a kind of sample for brainstorming, but anyway, you may change the process of brainstorming and choose the appropriate process or suitable process to your case. It is a preliminary way to solve the problem. And of course, you should find out the best way to set the problem itself. As for finding the definition or finding out what is the problem, it's one way, but setting the problem, it's another way. So that's why you should take into account these issues as well. Okay, focal objects. It's also really interesting. The technique of focal object for problem solving involves synthesizing the seemingly non-matching characteristics of different objects into something new. Of course, it's very important. And here we have a situation. Another way to think of focal objects is as a memory cube. If you are trying to find all the different ways to use a mouse, give yourself some random objects, situations, concepts, maybe, and see if you can find a use. For example, given piano, I would try to think of all the ways a mouse could be used with a piano. So you see here, we may speak about different ways, but let's just look at the clustering and understand what is the focal object method. So first of all, you'll find out the selected product to improve. Then random object. Then list the characteristics of the selected objects. Then combine the characteristics. So first, it means that you try to analyze, find out or define the characters or features of the object, selected object, separately, one by one. Then you combine these characteristics. Then you try to find the probable ideas. Define new obtained characteristics. Then evaluate application and market. Maybe for these product or for this object, let's say. And then after overcoming this process, you may find new solution. It is really important. Lateral thinking. I think you do remember what is it. So lateral thinking is a term coined by Edward de Bono. It means using an indirect and creative approach to solving problems. And here, let's just analyze this picture, or not analyze, maybe look at the picture and find out what is lateral thinking in details, for example. So, stimulates new ideas. Compare these two: creative thinking, which often relies on inspiration and is not necessarily structured, or improve designs, develop and improve designs, or resharing, solve problems requiring insight and reshaping of existing approaches. So you are free to reshape, find some other requirements to compare, or here you may open your mind. The lateral brainstormer is consciously aware that things might not be what they seem. So it's natural. First impression sometimes is not correct. You may change your mind after penetrating in the problem definition deeper, or problem essence significance deeper. So that's why you just may have just awareness of the problem in more details if you just try to penetrate deeper in the essence of the problem. So this is a lateral thinking, let's say, scheme, which is really useful if you use it in the process of problem solving. And critical thinking. So as for critical thinking, we mentioned you integrate critical thinking skills with across all content areas. So you should just try to analyze the problem from different points of view, or analyze reasons and evaluate them, and consistently cultivate higher order thinking skills. You should be concentrated better, or think critically and creatively. Here, creative approach is really important. And you should find the real applications. And of course, you should establish safe, risk-free learning environment, let's say. It is a little bit different, but of course, you may find some similar features. But anyway, these methods are different, but close sometimes in some points. And as for mind mapping is the method of representing words, ideas, tasks in relationship to a central idea, as we mentioned above. And I think you are a master's degree student, so it's not new for you. And before, maybe you came across with these kind of methods before, and maybe in your process of studies, you just use this. So here it is an example. So you may see different supporting ideas. In the center, you can see the central idea. And of course, you may see here different other supporting ideas. So it's just a kind of clustering. In the center, you have central idea, general idea, then you try to coincide the supporting ideas concerning the central idea. You may have main supporting idea and sub-supporting ideas. And main supporting idea is closely connected with central idea, and detailed supporting ideas are closely connected with main supporting ideas. And it is considered to be a mind map in general. So it was the last slide for today. If you have any questions, please, you may ask in Telegram channel. I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you. See you next time.